All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Applying the Foundations and Principles of Somatic Voice Work. We are so excited to have an amazing turnout. I'm just going to give a quick overview of how Zoom works. At the very bottom of your screen, you're going to see a chat button. I already see it's very lively. I'm just going to write the word hello in there with an exclamation mark. If you have any questions as they come up today, just write your questions in the chat and we'll have a Q&A at the end and I will make sure those questions get answered. You don't have to wait until the end to input them as they come up because I will answer them in the order. If anybody has any questions for Jeannie, now is the time. I'm going to pass it on to Jeannie, but tonight it's really exciting. We have Cindy, who's going to be working with her student Dave, and then Jeannie's going to be working with Oliver, and then we have Maria and Rachel, who will be doing some demonstrations of some singing things. So it's a really great 2 hours ahead, and I'm going to pass it off to Jeannie.
Thank you, Billy. Thank you very much. This is Billy Gallner, our media whiz, and who is the reason why I'm able to do these things. He's in Vancouver and I'm in New York, and the rest of us are spread out all over the place. I'm very, very, very happy and excited that there was such a positive response to Tuesday evening session on belting. And I did get quite a few questions. So I'm going to begin with a quick overview of the topic and also somatic voice work, my way of working with the voice. Uh, People come to be singing teachers by many different roads. Often they are instrumentalists who find themselves in a circumstance where they're working with people singing, and the singers maybe want some help with the song or making their voices sound better. And little by little, the person ends up suggesting things about that, and lo and behold, after a while, they're a singing teacher. They may not themselves sing, they may not have had a lot of singing training, they may not have gone through any kind of formal program. And we also have, at the opposite end of the spectrum, we have beginning students they're beginning teachers who have just graduated from a formal program that includes some kind of vocal pedagogy or training for singing. And we also have very experienced people with lots and lots of training. Some of them are carrying doctoral degrees, either a Doctor of Musical Arts or a PhD, perhaps in education, but they may be changing direction. Perhaps they were classically oriented and now they're teaching other styles, so they want a different approach. And we have people who sing all kinds of music. We have jazz singers and gospel singers and blues singers, and we have rock singers, singer-songwriters. So each of those people in their own discipline may have different ideas and expectations about what does it mean to sing. And each of the genres has its own professional criteria. And if you're going to work with people in those criteria, you need to know what they are. If you're classically trained and you start to work with a rock singer or a pop singer and you ask them to sing Caro mio ben or An die Musik, they may not stay because that isn't what they want. If I came to you and said, hey, I want to learn how to play tennis, and you said, great, first go spend 2 years learning how to swim. And then, because that's a whole body sport, come back to me and I'll teach you tennis. I mean, wouldn't you run away? That's just silly. The idea that we have had for over 100 years, if not over 200 years, depending on how you look at it, is that classical singing training was a one-size-fits-all miracle way to work. And I know enough from traveling all over the world for 49 years as a singing teacher that nobody agrees on what classical singing training is. No organization, no professional group has codified this is what classical singing does. It's how it's behaved. And we do have research on the sound, but we don't have any organized approach to how it has to be taught. So you can get 10 of the most esteemed, recognized singing teachers in a room, and you could ask them, well, what does it mean to train somebody to sing classical repertoire? And they'd all give you different answers. And they would probably all be correct. So when it comes to transferring that over to jazz or pop or country music or music theater, It might work and it might not. So you can't make a general statement. The same thing that I talked about on Tuesday, which is belting is not a thing. It's not. We talk about like, oh, it's a thing. When you are unfamiliar with it, yes, it's a thing. And I made the analogy then, and I make it again now. When I was young and I didn't really listen to classical singing, to me it all sounded like woo, which is how people make fun of it. But then when I became a classical singer, we used to play, drop the needles, two notes you could say, oh, that's Marilyn Horde, or two notes you could say, oh, that's Leontyne Price or Joan Sutherland, because you could recognize the voice within the sound. So that's true as well. And I gave the example on Tuesday evening of Barbra Streisand, Judy Garland, and Ethel Merman, all very well known as belters, singing together. And they all sang in very distinct ways. I mean, Garland's way of belting had nothing to do with Streisand's way of belting. But when they got to the end of that song, they matched up pretty well. So it's possible in an opera to have a very light voice, a lyric voice, singing a duet with a voice that's not that. And there's an element of blend that's possible without losing the individuality of the sound. So in a formal sort of way, you want to develop always the whole voice, the whole range of the voice, which should eventually include not less than 2 octaves of range, evenly produced, without effort or strain, with undistorted vowels, meaning an ah sounds like an ah and it doesn't sound like or something else. Recognizing that each of the vowels has its own acoustic envelope or acoustic signature. You have to adapt the vowel sound shape as you make it to the pitch range that you're in. When you go into commercial music styles, you are deliberately crossing into speaking voice territory. But not everybody speaks in a lower pitch range as a speaker. Okay? Those of you that are old enough to remember Archie Bunker, the character of Edith, was, oh, Archie, it's good to see you, Archie, how are you? Up there in the stratosphere. So you can't say, oh, that's a chest register or a modal speaking voice. And in a lyric tenor, you might have a very light sound. So functionally understanding the acoustic behavior of register as a function has to do with learning to hear what that is. And that can take a while, especially if you're not a singer or you are new to singing. And you really have to learn to sort out what is a register versus what's the pitch and what's the volume, and also what's the vowel sound doing. Think of the registration as something that happens at the level of the larynx in the vocal fold behavior. And the vowel sound is something that happens between your larynx and your lips, including the whole bent tube we call the vocal tract. In beginning students, you do not get a lot of response. So part of your job with kids and teenagers, even adult beginners, is to get the system to move, to get the mouth to open, to get the face to change, to get the tongue to be more maneuverable, to make sure that the body is mobilized, that the ribs are energized, the belly is working on the exhalation. All of those things can be cultivated in a beginner, but they don't just show up. Maybe 1 out of 10 students, yeah, but usually those are kids who grew up singing in a choir or at home, and it was cultivated as a natural part of their upbringing. People that have not done that, you need to really work on just that. That's basic mechanics. As you do that, the range should, over time, go both up and down. The volume level should increase to get louder and softer. And the quality of the tone should clear up so that it's neither breathy, rough sounding, or sometimes that it's not nasalized without any conscious awareness. In a sophisticated singer, that person might choose to sing on a kind of more nasally sound for a character choice or for expressive purposes, meaning that they choose to do it, and when they don't do it, it's gone. So that is important. Um, People sent in a lot of questions about specific things, like how do I get my student to belt higher? And before I would answer that question, if you're working with a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old, I would say, you don't want to work on having your student belt higher first. What you want is to get the whole voice to work evenly and smoothly, especially at that age. And then you can go back and do what would be an override. So you establish the whole voice, and then through training, you can learn to take the head register quality lower in pitch and the chest register quality higher in pitch over time. In that, I would make the analogy to any other physical thing we do in life: piano, guitar, dancing, painting, anything that requires skill using your body takes time. So if you have been given the idea that for belting, all you have to do is sing loud and sing through your nose, you can do that, but that's not going to hold up. And those kinds of quick fix band-aids are only useful in an emergency if you have to manage somebody who can barely manage and you need to get them by. But for long-term serious vocal pedagogy, they're not good ideas. Further, if you teach anybody to deliberately manipulate anything inside the throat on purpose, squeeze this, lift that, keep this up, keep this down, don't move here, don't move there, don't let this happen, then you will put the person in a box. And then that's why we have a lot of wooden singing, we have a lot of shouty singing, we have a lot of piercing singing, and that's not necessary. In fact, it's not even recommended. So when we talk about belting, we talk about working with students, we're talking about where is this student today, right now, and what are they capable of. So you have to explore a little bit what that is and where the person is. And then from that, you can make an evaluation of, okay, this is a pretty organized machine, and the person wants to sing a certain style that requires a little more of a belty sound. Let's see if we can coax that out of the throat a little at a time. So if the student can barely manage to belt B flat above middle C, give them a song that goes to the D above that, because it'll be bad. And so your choice of repertoire has to be based on what is the comfort zone in the exercises, and how easily can that person sustain that sound in an exercise, because it's not going to be better in a song, unfortunately. Now, we have a few of the people who have been trained to use somatic voice work as their guide. Obviously, every person who's done this training is doing some of what they do their own way, because the goal is not to have cookie cutters of Genie, God forbid. It's to have competent teachers who use their individual background and expertise grounded in understanding of what function is and how to guide the student little by little in the lesson process. So what I would do wouldn't necessarily be what somebody else would do, but it might still make sense from a functional standpoint. Before I go to work with Cindy and her student Dave, I want to know, Billy, can you just take a quick look at the questions and see if there's any kind of specific question that I haven't addressed in this little short
We've
talk?
actually haven't received any questions yet. So aside from, is this being recorded? And the answer is yes.
Okay. All right. So Cindy Hospitales is a teacher in Brooklyn, and she's a fine vocalist herself. She's a singer-songwriter and a pianist. She has made a number of really wonderful recordings and videos, and she has been teaching quite a while now. And so she has volunteered to work with her students. So, Cindy, hi.
Hi, Jeannie.
How are you?
I'm great. How are
And
you?
I'm very happy to have this wonderful time. Have you been able to reach Dave?
Yes, Dave is
And is
on
he
the line.
with us?
He is.
Okay, so,
Dave has been unmuted, so if Dave says hi, it should pop up.
all right.
Mm. Dave, do you mind saying something? Oh, Dave Smith is still muted. Okay. Dave, you might have to...
Oh, hello.
Ah,
There we
there we
Hi,
go.
this is Dave. Hey, everyone. How's it going?
Hi, Dave. Thank you for being with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. Is my volume okay for everyone?
Yeah, your volume's good. Cindy, if you
Okay.
could turn the gain up on your microphone, that would be really great. It's just a little quiet all of a sudden.
Done. Is this better?
Now it's a little too loud. Sorry.
Um,
How about now?
Oh, now it's a little too quiet.
just say testing, testing, Cindy, and turn it
Testing,
up.
testing.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, great.
All right. So, Dave, this is a webinar in which we're discussing some interesting technical ideas with many teachers, well over 200 people who have all different ideas and backgrounds. And we're trying to share some of the work that people who are using somatic voice work, which is my approach, are using with their students. And so, you brave soul are going to be our first example.
Happy to
And
be the first test subject.
thank you. Well, we're going to allow Cindy to work with you for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, depending. And what I'd like is for Cindy to do a short little warm up with you, kind of get your voice awake and get it moving. And then we've discussed briefly a little bit the idea that you're working to strengthen your middle voice, your mixy voice. And so after you've warmed up for 3-4 minutes, I'm going to ask her to show some of the things that she would do to help you strengthen your mix. And then I'm going to guide her. I'm going to make suggestions or ask questions or give her feedback. And so I want both of you to know, and I also want the people watching to know, that this is not criticism as in, I don't think that Cindy knows what she's doing and she's doing a bad job. If I thought that would happen, I wouldn't have had her come on at all. I am here to be the senior teacher to give objective feedback and suggestions and to help Cindy help Dave. That's all. So for those of you who might not be used to that, the goal here is to be helpful, not critical. Okay? So Cindy, whenever you're ready, why don't you do a little short warm up with Dave, and then when you feel like you have warmed him up enough, stop and start with the mixy strengthening exercises, and we'll see where we go.
Okay.
Okay, you ready now? You just want to jump into it?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, great. Yeah, and just in case, I'm at my studio, so there may be some like sound bleed coming from outside. So just let me know if it's too disruptive and I can move around.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So let's start with. Hold on, let me close out this chat. Let's start with. Ooh,
Ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh, ooh.
You can start the first note a little bit softer.
Okay, cool. Ooh, ooh, ooh,
Okay, let's do. Hoo, 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 hoo.
Hoo, 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 hoo. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hoo, 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 hoo. Hoo, 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 hoo.
Tell me about how this is feeling.
Um, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little nervous. I've never had my lessons broadcasted, so maybe my voice is a bit shaky. I don't want to screw up in front of 200 or 300 people, so but
It's all good.
okay. Yeah,
I'm
but
nervous too. Join the club. We're in this together.
That's it. It's
yeah,
okay.
I
We get
definitely need
it.
a warm up.
We get it. All
Okay.
right. Now, Cindy, for the people that don't know, what was that he was just doing there? What kind of a point was that exercise in terms of the warm up? Where were you?
So first, I just wanted to hear the balance between his chest voice and head voice. So that's why I had him start on the 5-note scale on the ooh and the e. And I could hear that the transition between where he was and pure head voice wasn't quite smooth. So that's why I moved to the staccato hoo 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 exercise.
Okay, good. So for people that don't know, the Cindy was warming him up, and in this moment, listening to, did he have his head register going? Where did it come in? And she was using this exercise not only as a way to warm him up, but also to be observant. And so now we know, okay, his head register came in, said hi, and he had a kind of a mix in the middle. Not really worried about how consistent it was when you first start to sing. So now, Cindy, what else would you do that sort of it goes in a different direction?
I would hear how his chest voice is doing.
Okay.
So let's sing. I'm gonna do this up an octave because I'm not a man. Ah.
Do you want me to go up to that octave or mine?
No, the lower octave.
Okay, so pure chest.
Yes.
Okay. Ah, ah, ah.
Can you sing that a bit louder?
Sure. Ah, ah, ah.
Let's head back down and see if you can get a bit chestier.
Okay. Ah, ah, ah.
All right. So
All right. Now, so Cindy, as an evaluation, was that a lot of chest register?
no.
No, not really. Okay. So now we know, well, when we say chest register, Dave's response there vocally wasn't recognizably chesty chest, right? So my first suggestion is to say, Dave, when we talk about chest register, what do you think that is?
It's very heavy for me. I definitely sometimes feel like I have to push and have it be visibly loud. I think what we've been working on recently with chest is not pushing it so much. So I'm trying to find that balance between having it, not be forced, but still having that kind of, bottom end that a chest voice would have.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What you just spoke to us now, where was that?
In terms of my speaking voice or where I was singing at before.
No.
I would say right now I feel like it's kind of mixy, but there's some chest in it.
Yeah, it was definitely chestier than where you sang, right? So,
Yeah.
Cindy, we want to remember that with guys, it's perfectly okay for them to get louder, even if they're maybe doing a little more effort than ideally you would like them to. But the first goal would be, hello, how are you? So I would ask Dave if he could sing, and And Dave, you might feel like you're Santa Claus that way, but go ahead and try it, okay? The same pitch
Okay.
range you were just in.
Okay.
Yeah, now
Ah.
Cindy, go down, not up, okay? Good.
Ah.
Now, that's chestier, right? Because it's
Yeah.
lower and louder. Now sing that on an O. Go down, Cindy.
Oh.
Okay, now you find that that's uncomfortable?
No, it doesn't. I try to be delicate when in chess because I do have a habit to push. So I try to go a bit lighter to compensate that.
Okay, but what you just did was not pushed.
No, it definitely didn't feel that way.
Okay, so if you want to work on strengthening your mix, first you got to strengthen your chest register in the place you were just in. Okay? So
Gotcha.
that place, oh, well, if I were talking to you there, I'd sound like this. Hi, Dave, how you doing? You're not going to live there, okay? But if you want your middle not to feel quite so light or unstable, you need to practice where you just were as comfortably as possible. So Cindy, let's try a slide. Think of some kind of an exercise with a slide, maybe using the O, but staying on this low pitch range.
Okay. Let's do oh.
And just pure chest
Well,
in that.
just a comfortable, loud, lower sound. Forget about the label.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Wait, can you do that again? I just want to make sure I have a good reference point.
Oh.
Okay. Oh.
Okay, now you can go up, Cindy.
Oh. Oh.
Okay.
Oh.
Now, Cindy, if we stayed with this exercise and we were going to improve this exercise without changing to another pattern or another vowel sound or even another pitch range, can you think of anything that you might suggest to Dave that would help?
Can you ask that question one more time, please?
Yeah. Let's say he's just done that exercise and he did it as we asked, but we want to help him get the same exercise to be a little more effective. Is there anything in particular? Now, if you can't think of anything, that's fine. We'll ask some of the other people who are watching, what would they suggest if they were not going to go to another exercise? Okay, so if you can't think of anything, don't worry.
Let's put an N in front of it.
So I'm going to do no.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see how that works. You want to sing it for him so he knows what you're doing?
Oh, Dave said he got muted again.
Oh, let me fix that. How did that happen? Do-do-do. There we
Okay, got it. Sorry about that. That was my fault.
Now, Dave,
Nope.
you're in the dark. What happened?
There was some noise in the hallway, so I just stepped into the booth to not be disruptive.
Okay, do you have a light in there?
I could probably grab a light. It's a bit too
Otherwise
dark.
all I can see is your hat.
Let me see. I could probably shine a light there. Oop, there we go. Could probably just close it a bit. That way, some.
Okay, so try to put the light so it shines on your face.
Got it. Let's see if this will work a bit better. Does this work?
That's good. That's
Hello?
good. Now we can see.
Okay.
All right,
Great.
now Cindy's going to give you the exercise again that she wants, and you're going to incorporate that and do it again. Same
Cool.
pitch range.
Okay. So no.
All right, Cindy, is that your chest register?
That's, it's kind of mixy.
Yeah. So get lower in your own voice and
Okay.
sing chesty.
All right,
Go
so I have
down
to-
there.
I
That's
have to
what you
fix
want
this
from him.
differently.
You
Okay.
need to do that.
No.
So people who watch this, we ask the teachers to illustrate what the sound is that they want the student to do. And if you are a female teaching a male, or vice versa, you have to do the function in whatever pitch range you do it in for you, and then the student does it in the pitch range that's right for them. But the function, chest, is chest. So we're working on finding and strengthening the lower pitches in chest. And Cindy's example, as beautiful as it may be, wasn't exactly what she wanted Dave to do. So now I'm saying to Cindy, no, you have to go be in your chest voice. Which she finally did. Okay, so now Dave, you do this, okay?
Okay. And what was the pitch range?
No.
No.
Good. Now go up a half.
No.
Good. One more.
No.
Okay, now that's the first one where when you went higher, you got mixier. Did you know that?
Yes, I definitely recognize that, and I think I made a conscious decision to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in a piece of music, that would probably be wise, but because this is a strengthening exercise and it really is just for the exercise's sake, don't get softer when you go up. Stay loud. Okay?
Okay.
Do it again.
No.
Uh-huh. Do it again.
No.
Good. Go up and keep the vowel, really keep it in O.
No.
Mm-hmm. So Cindy, how's he doing?
He's doing well. It's starting to mix a little bit at the top.
Yeah, but that's because of the pitch, right? Where are we in pitch? I'm not paying attention
E
here.
flat to B flat.
Right. So that's one of those places where there's a little passaggio change, right?
Mm-hmm.
So rather than continue to go up, let's go down. Now, that was one correction. Is there any other correction that you could think of that would help him do this same exercise more effectively?
I need to hear it one more time.
Okay.
Sorry,
So
I'm
have
very
it.
distracted. There are lots of like comments floating by, and I'm like, ah.
Try not to look at the comments.
Okay. Yes. Can you do it one more time, Dave, please?
Sure. No.
Good. Now go down a half.
Can you make your mouth taller, please?
Sure. No.
Uh-huh.
No. No.
One more.
No.
Okay, good. Now, in terms of developing more chestiness and more volume and more stability, is this the only exercise you could do? No. But is this the kind of exercise you have to do? Yeah. There really isn't any substitute for the lower, louder pitches generating chest register. The only way you can keep that going is to go there, right? Now, some of you have been writing in suggestions, which I greatly appreciate. But in this particular instance, I would prefer that you hold off on that. Because this is also to not only help Cindy help Dave, but those of you that are knowledgeable are jumping in before the people that aren't so knowledgeable have a chance to think things through. And so I bless you and thank you for your wonderful suggestions, but for the moment, keep them to yourself. Okay, thank you. Now, so Cindy, what other kinds of things might we be able to say that could help Dave do in this same pitch range, the same thing? You suggested his mouth change. That was great. Can you think of anything else?
On the same exercise?
Uh-huh.
If it's louder, it would be chestier.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, what are the other ingredients in this exercise? What's one of the obvious things that he's doing? He's sliding, yeah?
yes.
Okay, so his slide is not too organized. So maybe the suggestion would be, okay, that was good. It was louder and you got a rounder shape on your vowel, but let's see if you can smooth out the slide. Okay? All right, now I'm going to say again, I don't want any suggestions about do this, do that, make this, make that. Keep those for later. I just want you to listen and let other people process this without your input just yet. Okay? If we need that, we'll let you know. So in this case, Cindy, now that he's got the basic gist of it, there's two things that I would suggest. One is the slide has to be slidey, really slidey, very even. And the other one is that you can suggest that he take his time when he breathes and really try to get a nice, good, deep inhale and then start on the exhale as the sound comes so that the two things are more partners. Okay? So can you do it again yourself as an exercise and really show him that you want the slide to be even and you want the volume to be even and you want the vowel sound to be oval, all back and forth in that low pitch range, okay?
Oh.
Okay, now Dave, you see if you can match that down where you were singing in not this octave but the lower octave.
Okay.
So Cindy, would you say that that was a little bit, just generally a little more organized,
Yes.
right? So we want to tell them, hey, that's better,
That's better.
Thank you.
okay? Because if the student is trying to do what you asked, they may not know if they're doing what you asked or not. And it's not a bad thing to say, yeah, good, go on, that's it, that's the idea. Great, keep going, follow that until it feels like we say, well, okay, wait, now that time we lost some volume or you didn't slide or you didn't take a good breath as a correction, but without making a big deal about it. So you just keep the whole thing moving and running. Now, last but not least, so we know he has some chest register when he thinks about it. We know he's got a nice heady falsetto up toward the high. Let's do something mixy in the middle. So what would you do if you were going to work on that?
Let's do. Nya, 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 nya.
Okay.
Nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya.
Can you exaggerate the movement of your lips more and just make it wider and brighter? Nya, 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 nya.
Yep. Nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya. Am I saying it right?
Nya, N-Y-A-H. Nya, 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 nya.
Got it. Nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya. Nya, 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 nya.
Okay, now Cindy, was that mixy?
Yes.
Pretty good, right?
Hmm?
Would you say that's the regular volume for his mix? Like mostly
Yes.
that's how loud he sings?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you want to strengthen that, what would be the most direct thing to ask him to do?
Sing it louder.
Yeah, right? Say, wow, that was great. Now, do it louder. Like if that's a 5, do it at 8. Okay, so
Okay.
take him back down, half step at a time. Go back to where he just finished.
Should we start where we are and go down, or start?
Yes, start where you are and go down.
All right. So, nya, 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 nya,
There
nya.
you go.
Nya, 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 nya. 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 Nya, 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 nya.
Okay, now Dave, what is that like?
It feels great. I was a little frustrated today, so I feel like, I'm screaming out into the world, relieving some tension.
Right, that exercise is a kind of aggravated sort of sound anyway, and so it's useful to use that energy to get it out.
Yeah.
Um, Now, what else? Let's just do one more, Cindy, that might help integrate what he just did overall. Kind of staying in the same ballpark, but maybe with a little teeny bit of variation. What else would you do? Yeah, Cindy?
Yes. All right. Let's do May, 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 May.
In the same pitch.
Yes.
Okay. And what was the wording?
May.
May, like the
And
May.
month.
Okay. May, 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 May,
Right. Now,
May.
Cindy, go down, not up.
May, 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 May. May, 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 May. May, 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 May. May, 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 May. May, 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 May. May, 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 May.
Okay, now I want to ask Dave. Does that feel like there's a little bit more chest in there?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Does it feel like you're pushing?
No.
Right. Okay. So we sort of sneaked up on your throat and we kind of got him to, we got the throat to get the message that it's all right for that yeah to help. And Cindy, did you have a particular reason why you did that exercise as opposed to something else, or was it sort of an arbitrary choice?
For me, it was an arbitrary mixy exercise.
Okay, good. So, I mean, I think for the moment, because we have other things we have to get done, this was a very nice example of working with functional principles and having a specific goal in mind, which was to help strengthen his mix. And we know that to strengthen, we want a little more chest. Cindy wisely is avoiding trying to make it too chesty, because then that gets to be a problem. And so this is a question of trial and error and patience, and choosing exercises with the idea of where can I get my student to go. And then also, you notice she checked in with him, said, how you doing? How does that feel? And he was able to give that really good feedback. So in a way, this little mini session that she just did with Dave was kind of a microscopic slice of what happens in a functional lesson, using the ideas of somatic voice work, where we talk about registers a lot and we use specific vowels quite a bit. And we couple that to auditory feedback that has sometimes a musical ingredient, like the slide being more even, or the mouth being in a certain shape, the vowel sound being specific. And actually, each of those is a thread, which if Cindy was doing a lesson, she might spend more time on each of those ingredients. Um, Dave, did you find any of that confusing?
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
think it makes perfect sense. Cindy's always, you know, telling me similar things, so um, it's being drilled into my head.
Good, good. And Cindy, do you have any general observations about, um, I don't know, I guess how you would carry this forward?
Um, I would probably start in the middle of his range and work down more as opposed to the opposite direction,
Mhm.
because the tendency to push is when he's bringing chest up,
Right.
and when he starts in mix and brings it down, then we didn't have those same issues.
Okay, good, wonderful. So I want to say thank you to both of you. Thank you to Cindy and thank you to Dave. This was a perfect way for us to illustrate some very specific stuff. So everybody, we thank them very much.
Thank you.
Okay, now um, we have two more volunteers, two more brave souls. Uh, Actually, three more brave souls. And I think, Oliver, I'm going to go to you. So let's go to Oliver
All right.
Henderson.
Oliver, you are unmuted.
Hello, how is my sound?
Very loud. Do you want to turn
Loud.
your gain down on your mic just a
I
little
am
bit?
happy to do that.
Yeah, it's also very noisy.
Is that any better?
No, it's just a hair quiet. It's like
Okay,
5%
here's
louder.
testing, 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 testing,
There,
I
testing.
think that's
good.
good. That's good.
Good.
Okay. Now, Oliver is a classical singer and he's a teacher. He has a lot of experience. He has a doctorate. He's here in New York. And I think he bumped into somatic voice work last year.
It was back in 2012 in Ann Arbor, actually. I came down and did
That far
level
away.
one.
Forgot.
Yeah, I
Okay.
was teaching in Michigan at the time.
All right. So, uh, I guess I want to know, do you want me to work with you a little bit so we can show how it is to work with a guy and have
Sure,
that as an example? Yeah?
I'm up for that. Yep.
Okay. Um, I get a lot of questions from women about how do you work with a man? So the answer to that is if you took a larynx out of somebody's throat and you just saw it on a slab in a laboratory, and you were not a doctor or a speech pathologist who had studied thousands of larynges, that's the plural, larynxes, you wouldn't know from looking at it was it a man or a woman, except maybe by the size. But you could conceivably have a small framed man and a large framed woman whose larynx was, relatively speaking, approximately the same size. So it's an asexual function, that is to say, at the level of the vocal folds, the function of head register or falsetto or upper voice or loft or whatever name you want to call that is the same. And my authority to tell you that is Dr. Ingo Tietze, whom I had to go to and ask for a written verification because I've had people argue with me. Oh no, falsetto is different. And it's like, okay, you don't want to argue with me, that's fine. But you're going to argue with one of the premier voice scientists in the world? Okay, then you have more nerve than me. So when we talk about working with the male voice, the only difference is the pitch range, because the guys are an octave generally lower than we are. And unless you could see the larynx and you could see that the angle inside is slightly more open in the men, you wouldn't know in any other way that it was different. So when you think of function, if you're thinking of your own women, your own chest register, assuming you have one, and if you haven't worked on it, you may not have one, it's not different in terms of function as the guy. So Oliver, let's have you sing, let's go to C below middle C. Almost all men have that note. So we're going to sing ah at a moderate volume.
Ah.
ah. That's C sharp on the bottom for me. That's my version of singing a kind of chesty sound that I'm not pushing. It's about a volume wise from 1 to 10. It's probably about a 5 or 6. Functionally, we're doing the same thing. So Oliver, here's our pitch. This is you're going to sing here, and we're going to do it at that tempo. We're going to try to do it together, okay?
Sorry. Slowly. That's really
Okay.
hard.
Yeah, well, I mean, because of the delay,
Yeah.
but I mean, quality wise, we're in the same ballpark. Now, people watching, if you're not used to listening for registration, you're listening for pitch accuracy, you're listening for resonance, don't. We're just talking about the quality, the timbre, the texture of the sound itself in this pitch range. If I were talking to you down here, oh, hello, I'm Jeannie and I'm a singing teacher, and I really like this part of my voice. It's so warm and deep and creamy and lovely and wonderful. Well, I could do that, I guess. But I'm a crazy Italian lady and I talk all over the place, but I particularly like to go up. So if I'm up here, where my voice is very happy, I'm not having to think about that. That's what makes me a soprano. I'm happy up high, okay? When I go down low, I'm not unhappy, but I have to think to myself, I want to go into my chesty voice. Now, Oliver's voice is a low voice. He's not really a heavy bass, but he's a little bit, has a little bit more of that than not, right? So Oliver, stay there and do it again. 5-note scale on ah at like a 5 or a 6. Moderate speed. Okay, now deliberately try to do it a little louder than that. Okay, so that's exactly the same, everything except it's more volume. Okay?
Yes.
Now we're going to go try to sing the vowel sound a little bit more on the dark side.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the same everything else except that now his vowel sound changed, and that shifts a little bit. If you know voice science, it shifts the formants and moves them around a little bit, and we call that a different color or a different timbre, timbre. But basically, that's a set volume, decibel level, which we could measure if we had a sound pressure meter. A consistent register quality because of the pitch and the volume, and then specific shapes of vowels. And do they have resonance? Of course. Every sound we make has resonance or we'd be soundless. But does it generate a resonance on purpose for its own sake? Not yet. Can he do that? Yeah, he can. But I didn't ask him to. So I call this plain vanilla. This is where you just sing and you don't think about trying to generate classical resonance or some other thing. So we're still not in the realm of belting. We're just singing at a comfortable chesty loud. So Oliver, let's do a slide. Ah, ah, Okay, now for the sake of a demonstration, deliberately sing heavier and darker, like
Okay.
a very powerful chesty song.
Okay.
Mhm. Even more than that. Yep.
Ah.
Okay. Now, in classical teaching, there is a very popular idea that you should hold your larynx low in your throat at all times for everything you sing. Um, and you can do that. You usually do it by pressing down on your jaw and putting a lot of pressure on the back of your throat and the back of your tongue.
And you know that I've done that.
Yeah, and I did too when I was young. It does sound kind of impressive at first, but over time it makes the sound very wooden and heavy and unexpressive and not very malleable.
Right.
So if you're going to sing different styles, you're going to cross over and do something more music theatery or more belty, this sound I'm going to sing to you from here, I'm going to sing to you, doesn't hold up. Okay, so we don't do that.
And it was even limiting for me in classical rep. So,
Yeah, it gets that way after a while. And particularly as you go into your 40s, where the instrument begins to calcify a little bit. Don't laugh. You're not like, oh, I'm old. No. But the instrument begins, the larynx, thyroid cartilage begins to calcify a little bit, which means it gets a little bit more bone-like. It's not going to be as malleable as it is when you're in your 20s. And it's at that point you sort of have to have a kind of, oh, you know, I guess a come to Jesus moment where you got to decide, hey, am I going to keep doing this? And you have to talk to your throat. Hey, throat, what do you say here?
in my case, it was come to Genie.
Oh, wow. Okay. So, now, assuming we've warmed him up, which we haven't really, but if we do something kind of more generalized and go up and down a little bit, then we can talk about, you know, what does it mean to go toward a belty place, right? So, Oliver, just for the heck of it, do a 9-tone scale and go up on ah and down on e. So do ah, e, and just be as comfortable as you can. And if it's messy, don't worry about it.
I.
Yep.
I.
Yep.
I.
Yeah. Okay, now you can see that as he goes higher, he has to open his mouth. He has to change things a little bit in order to keep the vowel going and to keep the pitch accurate. So is that good? Yeah, it's not only good, it's necessary. Right. So now on his high note, he's making a little bit more effort to sing an open vowel, more I than E. Has to do that in order to accommodate the pitch and keep his throat comfortable. Is that still keeping the vowel sound undistorted? Uh-huh. Distorted implies he's not doing that. Okay?
That's
So
helpful.
this is slightly modified for the sake of comfort. That's enough. You do that again. Good. One more. If it cracks, it's okay. Good. Now, women, if you don't have the pitch range of the men memorized, you wouldn't know that he's crossing over into F and G on top. He's crossing into the famous passaggio, or the break. And if he doesn't modify the vowel the way he just did, and also a little bit the volume or the breath pressure, it would be messy. So this is an evidence of evidence of his training, his experience, his exposure, his knowledge of his own instrument, and also what to expect from it as a first shot, not having sung a lot or warmed up a lot.
It's also, I would add, very different from what you've been showing me. in the last year. I think we're purposefully sticking with chest voice right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I don't think that that's a heavy duty, powerful push chest register, but
Right.
it's there, right?
Yeah.
Does that sound to you, Oliver, like a belt sound?
In the commercial sense of that word, no.
Oh.
It's the way I would sing classical repertoire, which we don't really use that term in classical repertoire, but it functionally in my throat, I know that it's the same. I don't think that it sounds the same because of some other adjustments.
No, it doesn't sound the same. I mean, I would associate that with something, well, maybe legit music theater, but I don't think of that sound you just made as a belty sound.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if we go back to the definition of belting, which is that it's a speech-oriented sound, meaning lower register, modal, whatever you want to call that stuff down the bottom, sound, but takes that same quality up past this place where we would make the adjustment without making the adjustment. And that's why it gets shouty, it gets tight, the larynx rises, it sounds like you're choking to death. The throat does not necessarily make that adjustment easily off the top. So this is where we fool around with the volume, the amount of pressure on the mechanism, the whole mechanism, and the shape of the vowel, which helps a lot. Once you have established that the instrument has a chest register and has a head register, what do you do in the middle, which is where the mechanics matter? Anybody who has a high voice like me, I can sing high notes at any hour of the day or night, even if I'm drunk and tired. They just come out. If I had to sing low notes, I have to think about it. I got to warm up. I can do them. But the mixy sound in my middle voice, which used to be very easy, is compromised because I have a small spot on my left vocal fold that doesn't vibrate properly anymore because it's slightly paralyzed. So my illustration of what I would have done years ago, my Broadway sound, I can't do because my throat won't let me. So there's always a negotiation between what your vocal cords are willing to do, what your larynx is willing to do in terms of where it sits in your throat, how that's being adjusted by the tongue, the shape and the pressure on the back of the tongue, and your head position and your mouth. My wonderful dear friend, Gene Rohrer, who's been playing for me for 35 or 40 years, and who is himself a fine pianist and singer, sent me a clip of Joan Sutherland singing the first aria in Lucia on the Ed Sullivan Show back in the 60s.
Huh.
And she spends, if you ever watch that on YouTube, she sings most of it with her head up. Up, not down, up, classical. And her sound is very heady and light, but it's warm and open. And of course, her singing was very, very graceful. There's a large woman with a substantial voice and a sturdy frame, and her singing was like filigree lace. Well, that's what that music asks for.
Yeah.
So now what I'm going to ask is I want to have Oliver change vowels. And we're going to use a because in the vowel chart world, a sits right in the middle of all the other vowels. So if we're going to talk about blending things, that's the vowel sound to work on. And this is explained very nicely in William Vennard's book. And Vennard was one of the first singing teachers who did research with Bell Labs in the early 60s. He was Marilyn Horne's teacher. He was Marilyn Niska's teacher. And the vowel chart is in all speech pathology books. It's in Vennard's book too. And that has to do with an aspect of working that I'm not going to touch on today. But we're going to use the a vowel as that mediator between the two. So let's do so this is C on the bottom, C below middle C. I'm an octave higher than that, but Oliver's going to be here. And you're going to let your tongue rest on your lower lip. Make it a little louder. Right. So if we're going to go toward belting, it's got to be at least that loud in this comfort range of the pitches. Otherwise, when you go up, it's not going to stay put. Yep. Good. Now, when you get to the high note, you might not be able to make it quite so relaxed and open. So
Okay.
go a little more on the nasty side.
Okay.
I know I'm dating myself like mad today, but in the old I Love Lucy episodes, when Lucy got in trouble, she would always go,
Yeah. Yeah.
that
I know
sound.
that sound.
Right. So it's no longer a beautiful sound, and that gorgeous tone that Oliver produces seems to have gone bye-bye. So you hear this, you don't go, wow, that guy's got a gorgeous voice. You go, oh, that's loud. So you have to suspend your classical judgments, or even your jazz singers hate this sound because they all want to sound really nice and warm. So, the gospel singers don't resist this because we have Aretha, we have Patti LaBelle, we have all kinds of folks who are willing to make this sound for expressive purposes. So it's not something to be afraid of.
Right.
Even if you don't like it, it has a purpose. And we're not suggesting that you go around singing like that, but that exercise produces something that another kind of exercise wouldn't, or take longer to do. All right, so Oliver, go on. This is A flat to E flat. Right. And lighten up on the top and then stay nasty. Yeah, that was good. Now, can you... It's very difficult to say to somebody, get lighter, which means get more heady,
Yeah.
without having it get softer,
Right.
because they go together. But it is possible, the whole point of training is to distinguish between them. So I want you to keep the volume the same, even if you get lighter.
Okay.
Right, now put your rock and roll hat on here and sing this loud. That's it. So we're allowing the larynx to come up a little bit here. We're not pulling it up, we're not forcing it up, but we're saying inside, hey, go where it's easy. This is a B, I'm sorry. Right. So now his high note is really in a mixy place, right? It's kind of no longer just chesty chest. It had to go somewhere else. Okay, good. Okay, now let's do the one that Cindy was doing, but with a variation. So do ha 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 ha. Like this is like a witch, the Wicked Witch of the West laughing.
Okay.
Good. Now once you get it going, do it as comfortably loud as you can. Good. How loud is that?
It's probably 6.
Yeah, like so. Give me like a 8 or a 9. If it cracks, it cracks. But do it loud. Right, because you got to remember that if belting isn't loud, it's not belting. It's got to be loud. Good. Start the first note louder. That's it. Okay, those are good. Loud on the first one. was a little glitchiness on the pitch.
Yeah, that was a flipping of the flipper.
Right. Do I care about that right now? No. I know this man has impeccable pitch. I'm not interested in the fact that it went off pitch. It went off because of what he said. The body and the throat are trying to figure out, what do I do here? This isn't where I would go. And that's the point, because if you're not used to belting and it isn't where you usually go, how do you learn it? You only do what you already do? Well, then don't spend money on a teacher that's not teaching you.
Well, I'll certainly add that when we first began this kind of work, there was a big element of trust.
Yeah.
Because I knew that what your expertise was, so it's just like, okay, this doesn't feel like I normally feel, but this is where we're
Yeah.
gonna go.
Oh, she's,
Yeah.
you know, the voice wrecker. Let me wreck those throats. Okay. Now, is he ready to sing a song there right now this minute? No, because we had to warm up more. He had to be practicing this a lot. But if he were going to do a music theater song that was slightly more toward a loud, brassy speech, he's more likely to be able to produce that now after this. Okay? Now, Oliver, have you got a music theater tune in your head that you could sing just like,
Huh. Let me see what I have.
yeah. Okay, so he's already got a chest register. We don't have to find it. He has one. He has a pretty good upper register. We didn't work on it much, but he's got one. So what we're doing now is playing with primarily with the volume and the vowel sound shape. And we're going through the break, through the break, through the break, through the break. Not forcing, but leaning on the mechanism saying, come on, come on, come on. And once in a while it cracks or it goes off pitch or it grabs or it squeezes. But he can breathe, he's got good posture. So are those reasonable risks? Of course. How do you get there if you don't try to get there? So this is where you have to do patient repetition over time. Otherwise, I could just say to him, well, just yell. Well, just sing in your nose. Well, just squeeze something. And yeah, okay, right now that would produce an instant result. And then 6 months from now, he'd come back and say, I can't sing anything. So it's not worth the trade-off. What have you got, Oliver?
How about Joanna from Sweeney?
Okay, so maybe not the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. We can do the opening.
Just do a little bit in the beginning.
I feel you, Joanna. I feel you. I was half convinced I'd waken, satisfied enough to dream you. Happily I was mistaken, Joanna.
Okay, now do this next part louder.
I'll steer you, Joanna. I'll steal you. Do they think that walls can hide you? Even now I'm at your window. I am in the dark beside you. Buried sweetly in your yellow hair.
Okay, now to you as a singer, does that sound to you like your classical sound, like what you would sing in an aria?
Half and half.
Right.
Half yes,
So,
half no.
right, not exactly the same, right?
Correct.
Now I wouldn't call what you just did belting, because it's not
No.
loud enough and it doesn't really go up above the break all that much.
That's true,
You
right.
would need to have a song from a show more like maybe Shrek or something like that, where you would be singing "Big Bright Beautiful World,"
Yeah, right.
which this song is sort of borderline legit anyway. All right. So this is how you work with a guy. And this is how you work with a classical person, trying to get them to be able to cross over without completely murdering their ability to still sing classical music so they don't have to throw it out. And so Oliver has changed a lot in the last year, I guess, year and however much long we were working. And have you lost your ability to sing classical music?
No, it has been enhanced for sure, because I sing as a tenor in classical rep, and the when I'm behaving, the top it's like a whole new world, just like the mermaid said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, so I think that's enough for now. I want to thank you so much for being our
You're
guinea
very
pig.
welcome.
And appreciate that. So now I want to go to Rachel. Now, Rachel is a pop rock singer, but she also had classical training when she was young. Rachel, where are you? Say hi.
Hello. Hi.
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 So have you warmed up or sung at all today?
Yes.
Okay. So what I would like is to have you work on something more belty. I haven't worked with you in a while. What kind of shape is your belty sound in?
Pretty good, I think.
Okay. Now, if you were going to warm yourself up, as if you were going to go out and do some R&B and some pop stuff, what kind of warm up do you do?
It kind of depends on where my voice is that day. I would usually hit head voice a little bit, and then bounce into chest and start medium low and start to come up high, come back down.
Sounds
come
good
up
to me.
higher.
All right, so let's do a little of that. Start wherever you want and going toward head a little bit.
Oh, okay. And then onto chest. Ah, 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 ah.
Okay. And then how would you work with the mixy stuff?
I guess it depends on the song. Ah, ah, ah,
Mhm.
ah, ah.
Okay, good. So she's giving us two examples. She's giving a heady one and a belty one. Okay? So you want to hear that she's making those changes. They're not huge. She's not reinventing her throat, right? Rachel, do them again. Go heady one and then chesty one. That's the heady one. I'll do a chestier one. That's the same two vowels. So it's not the vowels alone that make the difference. Go up. That's E, right? Okay, now notice that when she's chesty, the sound has an edge, a bite. Her vowel is brighter, but she's comfortable there. She's not killing herself. Why is she comfortable there? Because she practices there, because she sings there, because her throat is used to it. If you're a ballet dancer, you can have your leg up in the sky and have a conversation with me about what's for lunch. For the rest of us, we'd be in the hospital, okay? Comes from years and years and years and years and years of stretching your legs from the time you're a child until you can do that without thinking about it. So she's used to this sound. And we had to work to get her head register back because it had kind of gone on vacation for a while. But I can hear now it's pretty good. Rachel, sing me something on the pop rock side a little bit.
Can I get a hallelujah? Can I get an amen? Feels like the Holy Ghost running through ya. When I play the highway FM, I find my soul revival, singing every single song. Yeah, I guess that's my church.
Okay, good. sing something a little lighter and more lyrical.
Oh, if someone like you loves someone like me, then suddenly nothing would ever be the same.
Good, stop. Okay, now for the rest of you, you can hear that those are quality changes. The head register is lighter. It's a little bit softer because it's lighter. And I see in the comments going by, oh, E makes it chesty, or NG makes it mixy. No. No. You cannot substitute a vowel for the registration for its own sake. Why? Because the registration is a laryngeal event. It's a vocal fold event. And NG ain't not going to teach you how to belt. Sorry. The semi-occluded vocal tract exercises are very helpful for increasing closed quotient and allowing the vocal folds to close more firmly. But if you don't also have the ability to adjust the laryngeal position vertically in the throat, which therefore allows you to change the vowel, and you don't have control over the amount of breath pressure underneath the sound, you could do NG from now till hell freezes over and it's not going to change anything. Because I can do so is that going to help me be belty? Okay. Be careful that you don't teach results as cause. Cause is vocal fold behavior. Registration. Okay? So the idea that if you're going to sing, well, I can't probably show you, but I can do that on NG. I'd probably crack, but we'll see. Not great and also not very loud, but I mean, it kind of happened. So where Rachel was back and forth is the whole idea of cross training is that she has now become comfortable on either side of the fence. Rachel, I remember when we went to see Jeff, you sang Respect. Can you do a little bit of Respect for us?
R-E-S-P-E-C-T, but I want it means to me. R-E-S-P-E-C-T, take out the T-C-B. Hey, a little respect.
Okay.
A little respect. I get tired. I keep on trying. You're running out of fooling, and I ain't lying.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now, just on the other side of the equation, in head. Yeah, back up from your mic because it's cutting you down. Do it again. Yeah, it won't let you really go to full volume. That's part of the program. Anyway, you all can hear that there's a facility to go back and forth. And that's really important because her belting is good. Good. Works with the song, sounds right. She's not trying to copy somebody else's sound. She's using her own sound. And she's doing it in a way that's stylistically correct with that music. So, Rachel, I love you. That was fabulous. Now we're going to go to Maria. Now, Maria, tell us a little bit about what you sing.
Hello.
Hello.
I sing a little bit of everything. Musical theater, standards, jazz, some classical, soft rock, some Linda Ronstadt type rock, that sort of stuff.
Okay. So let's have you vocalize a little bit on the classical side, legit-ish side.
Okay.
Okay, so you can hear that Maria's sound is a more substantial voice than Rachel's, different kind of instrument. She's making quite a bit of volume and hardly even breaking a sweat. That's part of what makes that voice a bigger, fuller voice. She's not over opening her mouth. She's not straining, no, anything going on in her neck. Okay? So this is a nice heady sound. Let's do E-ah. Back up from the mic as much as you can. Wonderful. One more. Good. Okay, that's fine. Now, let's go lower and let's do something a little more speaky and do ya 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 ya. So this is hi. How you doing? Nice to see you. I'm going to sing in the same place. Ya 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 ya.
Ya 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 ya. Ya 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 ya.
Right, so that's from B, middle B to F sharp. This is middle C to G.
Ya 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 ya. Ya 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 ya. Ya 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 ya.
Good. Is any of that difficult, Maria? No, doesn't look it, doesn't sound it. It's a lot of sound. She's not pushing. She just has a lot of sound. It's nice. Do one more.
Ya 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 ya.
That's it.
Ya 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 ya. Ya 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 ya.
Right. Now, just for comparison. Ya 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 ya. My voice is lighter than hers, doing the same thing, cause I have a different instrument and I'm 71 years old. Okay, but it's the same behavior that Maria is exhibiting here. So this is where you get to sort out what is the instrument doing. She's doing a brassy, bright, speaky chest mixed border. And I'm doing the same thing, but it sounds different in me because of my own instrument and my age. And also because I haven't been singing much during the quarantine time. I have only been outdoors twice since the middle of March. Okay, Maria, let's do ya 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 on a bright ah.
Ya 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 ya. Ya 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 ya.
Good. Now, if you need to mix a little bit along the way, go ahead.
Ya 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 ya.
Yep.
Ya 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 ya.
Okay. Now, on Tuesday night, I talked about this. So, in traditional writing, chest register in anybody, men or women, kind of went up to C above middle C, C5, and then maybe the D, or maybe even the E flat or the E, depending on the voice and the person. One of the things about Barbra Streisand that was remarkable when she showed up in the 60s was that she took her chesty sound higher than was happening at that time in traditional music. Even in rock and roll, it was rare. It didn't show up in a more dramatic way until the end of the 60s, especially for the women. What we consider now run-of-the-mill normal behavior where the women are screaming off the end of the piano, they didn't do that so much in the 60s in any place, any style. It was confined to the lower pitch range because that's where it's comfortable. So Maria, have you got something that you could sing that illustrates the differences?
All right, let's see. Some people can get a thrill knitting sweaters and sitting still. That's okay for some people who don't know they're alive. Do you want me to go on?
No, that's Rose from Gypsy, and that's written for Ethel Merman. It's a belty song. It's not particularly extreme in terms of range, but it's
I can go to the
definitely
middle part.
Okay, but that's the sound. Yeah, you do the, but I just give it.
But I at least gotta try when I think of all the sights that I gotta see and all the places I gotta play, all the things that I gotta be. Yet come on, Papa, what do you say?
Good. So that sound is appropriate to the song, and actually Maria is exactly the kind of person who should play this role because it needs a strong, sturdy voice. When Patti LuPone did it, she was amazing, but she's got a powerhouse belt. And so now, Maria, sing something contrasting. I don't care what, anything you like. But
Like
something.
jazzy or classical?
Okay.
Which one?
I don't know. But it's kind of whatever. Classical would be the most different. So why don't you see
Okay.
what you can do with that?
I'm not really good at this. I'm still working on it, but I'll try.
Well, what is it?
Come scoglio.
Oh,
What? Come scoglio. Immoturista contra i venti e la tempesta e la tempesta.
oh yeah, that's a gutbuster. Now that aria goes da, ba, 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 all through the whole thing. It's brutal to sing that. But she did it very nicely, and she used her lower register in her classical sound, which is good. We don't want her to lose that. Sing something more jazzy pop.
How about jazzy pop? In the still of the night, as I gaze from my window at the moon in its flight, my thoughts all stray to you.
Right, so that's right down the middle. It's certainly not a loud belty sound, and it's definitely not the classical sound. It's that thing in the middle. Well, it has to be mixed. What else is there, right? When I met Maria, she was singing with a lot of pressure. Her belt was kind of heavy, and I said, "Oh, it sounds okay, but it doesn't look so good." And we really have, you've really transformed your entire voice, but particularly the middle, from when I first heard you sing. How does it feel?
Oh, it feels great. And I'm 57, so I started having problems around 45. I didn't have great training before that, but I had, a strong instrument, so people liked it and hired me. And so, it was great for a while. And then I hit those mid, 40s, and oh my gosh, what's going on here, right?
Yeah.
So I have definitely transformed it entirely, and I feel like I sing better now than I did when I was in my 30s. So
Yeah, you sound great. You sound great. And what's wonderful is you look comfortable. You look like you're not forcing or imitating or trying to sound like somebody else or make your throat uncomfortable. And so then when I hear you, I hear, that's Maria. I recognize. Same as Rachel and Oliver. I don't hear some version of you trying to sound like somebody else. I just hear you doing whatever it is you're doing in the music. So I'm thankful for you being able to do these wonderful illustrations. Thank you so much. It was fabulous. Yay, Maria. And now, Billy, I'm going to go back and I'll start taking some questions. I've been seeing them flying by.
We have
here.
a lot of questions, and I've put them in the order. So
Okay.
we'll start with, can Jeannie explain the demographic of teachers that benefit most from her teaching?
I would say that the people who benefit most are holistic teachers. That is, people who want to teach a whole human being who has a throat that wants to sing in all different kinds of ways and who wants to sound authentic and feel like their voice is pleasing, whatever artistic vision they may have. So teachers who have that in their mind like what I do. The other group of people is the group of teachers who understand voice science. Every single thing I do can be explained as form and harmonic ratio, a source filter model. We can talk about subglottic pressure. We can talk about open closed quotient. Uh, we can talk about it from the standpoint of classical vocal pedagogy, going all the way back to Lamperti and Garcia. Whatever framework that person is most comfortable in, I can explain it. I also understand vocal health. I've worked a long time alongside of doctors and speech pathologists in the hospital. I have worked in Mount Sinai here in New York as a vocal consultant to the Grobscheid Voice Center. So I can talk to the speech pathologists and I can talk to voice health professionals in terms that they understand as well. So the people who are interested in my work are like that. We're generally speaking very open-minded, very deeply committed to singing in a meaningful way, and we look at it as an opportunity to serve the music, to serve our communities, to serve our students, and hopefully to serve the world. If you are extremely fixed person, like you only like to sing a certain way and you only sing a certain music that way, I'm probably not the person for you. Okay, what else, Billy?
The next question is, I want Jeannie at some point to address why she believes belting is healthy, as that was a question that came up multiple times last Tuesday.
Well, I mean, you have to believe your eyes and ears. Aretha Franklin sang for 60 years. Patti LaBelle is my age. She's still singing. They're both belters. Streisand still sings pretty much the way she sang. I heard her 3 years ago. She sounded great. Older, yeah, but phenomenal. Patti LuPone's had a 40-something year career. She's a belter. You cannot make a blanket statement. Belting is always bad. Belting is going to hurt you. Classical singers lose their voices too. Is it more likely to cause you trouble if you don't know what you're doing? Because it is a high activity, high vocal load activity. But some people are predisposed to be able to sing that just because they can. And other people who go at learning it carefully and slowly over time are going to do that in a way that's appropriate to them. So again, on Tuesday, I said there's a difference between the belting of Christian Chenoweth, whose voice is more like mine, or Idina Menzel, whose voice is not like mine. And so to say belting is always harmful means you don't understand how to belt. And you don't understand why it is appropriate. And yeah, are there limits? Of course there are limits. We can't all sing, we can't all be heavy metal rock singers and also specialize in bel canto classical material at the same time. It doesn't happen. But the idea that it's always harmful is based on lack of information. All right, Billy, what else?
The next question. How does Somatic Voicework differ from other branded voice workshops on the market? And how does it differ from vocal pedagogy-based degrees or certificate programs?
Well, I think I just answered that. This is not a rigid approach. It is very codified and very stratified. You got to know what's in level 1 before you go to level 2. Everything is based on function, meaning vocal fold function and vocal tract function and being in touch with your ribs, your back, your belly, your coordination. It's very specific, but it's also very flexible and very open and very personalized. And at the most basic level, it's very simple. You could work with kids, you could work with seniors, you can work with people recovering from various kinds of challenges, physical challenges or illness. But in a really sophisticated, high-level singer who's been singing for years, it's also very detailed. It's extremely specific. It's very precise. I'm very careful about terminology and language. And I'm not big on using resonance and breath support as the answer to everything. Oh, if it's not right, it's the breath support. Oh, if it's not right, the placement is wrong. No. And I am living proof that what I'm doing works. I'm 71 years old. Next year, I'll be teaching 50 years. If I was going to wreck my throat, I'd be out of a job. I'm self-employed. So you have to believe your eyes and your ears. And is it like all the other CCM courses? I don't know. I don't think so, but that's my opinion. If you want to go sample all of them, go ahead. You should. I don't have the way or the right way or the best way. I just have my way, which I share with you to the best of my ability in case it might be helpful to you. So if you have a degree in classical singing and you're up in your classical sound and that's comfortable for you, okay. But unless every student you have always sounds and does exactly what you do, as soon as you teach somebody who's not like you better understand general vocal pedagogy for all human beings in all different styles, or you don't really have a way to help them that's practical. I do not advocate any squeezing, pushing, pulling of the larynx or the vocal folds or anything inside the throat on a conscious, deliberate basis, ever. So most of those methods are busy in maneuvering things on purpose, and I don't do that. Okay, what else, Billy?
The next question is, my question is regarding mixed voice. Are you referring to an acoustic change here, Jeannie, as we are aware that mixing is not a vocal register as far as I understand? Hope you can help.
Well, that is what the classical men tell you, because for them, it's basically a vowel sound change like you saw with Oliver. And it's also basically a vowel sound change if you are a dramatic soprano or a dramatic mezzo, because you already have a chest register. But when I did the research with Dr. Sundberg in 1988, and we looked at vocal fold behavior, the mixed vocal fold behavior was a 50% open-close quotient. So it is a laryngeal event if you look at people who actually make the sound. So you got to look at who did the research, what do they sound like, what were they looking for, and how did they get to those conclusions? Oh, it's just a resonance event. Yeah, and some people maybe. But if you're working with a light lyric tenor or a lyric soprano and they got a belt and that's all they've got and they don't really have chest register actively, I can promise you it's not just a resonance event. And so you got to be real careful when you read research, what's behind the research. Because I don't agree that it's not a laryngeal event. It is. And then there's a resonance event that goes with it. But if you don't have the registration handled, you can change the resonance from now until hell freezes over. It's not going to sound good. And you can prove that to yourself because I can name you several classical people who have done recitals and got up and sang in their classical sound and they just sound wrong. Well, if it was just resonance, why wouldn't it be that? Because they can only take their chest register up so far, and then they go to mix, heady mix, and then you get I can't want to make this sound except it's the sound that my throat doesn't do, but it wants to be like this. I want to sing in my jazzy sound. I'm like, no, actually that doesn't work. So be careful what you accept from what you hear. What else, Billy?
Is modeling the sound central to somatic voice work?
Yes.
Is CCM tech acquired by ear, or is there a way to have the student discover their own function without imitating what they hear from the teacher?
No, you're not imitating what they hear from the teacher. The teacher is making a functional example. And once the student understands the function, they will do it sounding like themselves. So it's not monkey see, monkey do. You sound like me. No. It's you learn to do what I'm doing. And the teacher has to explain that. So when you make an example, you got to know what the example is you want to make, and then you got to be able to do the example. And yes, there's a very large component of this work that's auditory. And it's not based on vibrating your bones in your face or vibrating your forehead or lifting your soft palate into a dome. It's based on how does it sound and how does it feel? Because that's how you learn to talk. You hear your parents talk and then you go, whatever they say, doggy, doggy. Yeah, doggy, good, doggy, doggy, doggy. So it's like that. And when the person has enough skill, I promise you they'll sound like themselves. Because if it were true that all my students sounded like me, I would have been out of business a long time ago. And there are ways that people are trained. Every student does the same exercise in exactly the same way and the same sound. So you can tell, if you're familiar, oh yeah, that's person studies with so-and-so, because all of so-and-so students sound like that. And you can't say that about my students. All my students sound like themselves. But all my belters, when they're belting, they sound like they're belting. So this is detailed information, which if you're new to the process, you may not understand. And that's okay. I mean, you got to come in where you come in. Okay, what else?
All right. Are there different approaches for men when belting? My baritones struggle with keeping the strong sound as they approach their falsetto.
You cannot ask a baritone to belt above the break unless you deconstruct the middle voice, make it lighter and brighter, and then coax it across the break without pressure. That takes time. So of all their baritones, if you try to get them to belt and you don't change what goes on in the middle, they'll never belt. They'll always just flip. And you can sing that way. It's not really awful. But you have to understand that functionally, you got to take the mechanism to where the mix happens in the pitch range below C, middle C. So, you know, between F and C, give or take. If you don't really understand what I'm talking about here, about the vocal fold behavior, the laryngeal position, the air pressure, and the vowel sound all together as a gestalt, and then how that connects to your head and your neck and your torso, then you don't have any tools to help your baritones learn not to flip. And you can't just say to the student, well, don't do that. Well, mix more. Because if they could mix more, they wouldn't need you. You know, otherwise the student is teaching themselves and you're getting paid for that. Or you don't know how to get them where they need to go, and you don't have the tools to fix the problem. That's okay, but then don't take the person where you don't know how to go. I mean, in terms of having integrity as a teacher, my somatic voice work teachers will say, gee, I don't know about this. Let me look into it and get back to you, rather than say, oh, I don't know, let's just, you know, make it up. That's not the best answer as a teacher. If you want to have integrity, if you want to have, this training is elite training. It's not for everybody on the internet. That's why it's hard to find me on the internet, and I don't have a published book. I don't want that. You got to really work to know what I'm talking about, and you got to get it, right now anyway, from the horse. Because this is the horse. And then my faculty are my little ponies. Okay, what else?
All right, just a couple more questions and then we'll have to begin wrapping up. But my question is about belting above the staff, F5 and above, in the female voice. What are the best methods when approaching belting and bringing the chest register up into this range?
Well, Rachel gave us a good example of that when she sang Respect, and she went note noodling on up there. It's the same behavior. Now, I'm not a high belter. I wouldn't present myself as a person who could sing Respect ever. Not when I was young, and certainly not now. But that quality, that sound is like a yell. It's like a scream. It's related to the classical sound, which was called squealo, squealy. If you can keep your throat relaxed and dynamically open, and you can control the volume and modify the vowel as you go, you can go up pretty far. But you don't want to do because then I'm in head register and it immediately sounds like another universe. And you can do that, but that's not what my example where I played you, Christina Aguilera singing It's a Man's World. She's not in really a classical head register except when she's way up above high C. So that quality, if you get used to it, you can put more pressure on it and still be able to slide up and down. And there is a laryngeal adjustment. That's why the head has to be able to move. Nobody who makes that sound goes, it'll just go, well. Right? So this is where the body guides you, where the throat tells you where it can go and where it can't. And then you negotiate with the throat, you coax the throat, but you don't push it or force it, because then you'll hurt yourself or you'll make yourself sound terrible. I heard recently something on the New York Times where they had some of the classical people who were supposed to be singing now, except they're not because it's closed. And one of the younger singers got up and he was, and it was like listening to a dog bark. No feeling, no expression. Yeah, loud, impressive, big, huge, wobbly vibrato. Oh, and he looked like he was 41 years old. That's just bad singing. Even at the Metropolitan, we got that. So you got to know the difference. What else?
All right, I think that just for the sake of time, we're going to have to start wrapping up, and I'm just going to launch the slides so you can talk about them.
Okay. So if this hasn't driven you completely crazy, and you really feel like you want to be an artist, you want to be expressive, you want to communicate, you want your voice to be your voice, and yet you want to go past your own natural limitations. You want to challenge yourself to grow in a new way, to have more freedom and more control, more continuity and more variability. Then you belong to our Somatic Voicework community. It's a beautiful, warm, loving, multi-dimensional community all over the world. We have all kinds of singers from all kinds of backgrounds, and we share as open-heartedly as we can. I try never to come from the standpoint of I'm always right, I always know everything, but I am very clear about what I'm clear about. I have 49 years of experience listening to over 200,000 hours of singing lessons, so I'm not just talking through my hat, and I can still sing. That's the biggest testimony. That's my graduate degree, my throat, even with a bad vocal cord. So our Lovetri Institute is moving to online only. So if you've ever thought about it, now's the time. No hotel, no airfare, no dorm, no meal plan, no outside expenses, and we discounted the course fee because of the pandemic. So
Severely.
It's cheaper to come now than ever it has been, or probably will be when this is over. So we have a very dynamic program. Most of it I teach, but we do have the faculty teaching breakouts. So that's where you get hands-on, one-to-one interaction with a faculty member who tells you, yeah, that's what we want, or no, that's not what we want. And you get to see each other working, so it's very communal and supportive. The level 2 is heavily focused upon functional exercises. What kind of exercise does what, under what circumstances, for what reason, and how long. That takes a very long time to assimilate and use as a second nature thing. But I got enough people that have been with me since the beginning, which was 2002, who do that quite well. They work from that standpoint, and so if they can learn it, so can you. We have our medical lecture will be by Dr. Claudio Milstein, who is the head of the speech pathology at the Cleveland Clinic. And we have a vocal health lecture by Barbara Wilson Arboleda, who, oh boy, I hope this is correct. I believe she's at Harvard. And if it's not, Barbara, forgive me. I know recently there's been a change, and I can't remember if that's accurate.
Yes, Barbara is the guest in level 1.
And she's our vocal health expert
Yeah,
in level
vocal
1.
health expert in level 1.
We have Dr. Jan Elise Prokop, who's a classical singer and wonderful belter, teacher at Montclair State and associate professor there. And she's going to be talking about body mapping in level 2, Barbara Conable's body mapping. And then we have our wonderful, fabulous, amazing Dr. Trinice Robinson Martin, who is going to do her soul ingredients certification course for graduates of previous years, levels 1 and 2, during level 3. So you can switch over to that. And then in the last level, level 3, We have Carmel Dean, who is a Broadway music theater director, conductor, and herself a composer and songwriter, to come and do a master class with participants, of course, online. So you get to see what a real Broadway pro is going to do with the participants in a mock audition. Our faculty includes middle school teachers, high school teachers, college teachers, private teachers, and we have rockers, pop singers, classical singers, gospel singers, jazz singers, and church music singers. So we cover as many bases as the people who come to the course. And we like to think of it as a course that's fun and filled with love and caring and heart, but also grounded in science, grounded in vocal health. These are world-class, well-recognized experts who come because they want to come. And we're very lucky to have experts of this quality every single year. We have registration available. And then in June, I'm going to do a series of 4 webinars for the 4 Mondays in June, starting on June 8th, in which we are going to talk about some of the topics that we touched on today. So we're going to have week 1 is about efficient belting, and I'm going to try to work with students who are kids and tweens, maybe some college students. The second week, June 15th, is addressing functional issues, correcting habits that are not necessarily great, or helping to find new vocal responses. The third week, June 22nd, we're going to work on songs and try to get a performance to work while we keep the technical stuff together. And in week 4, we're going to do crossover. What I just showed with a little bit with Maria and with Rachel today. If you want to keep your classical sound and add belting, how do you do that? Or if you're a belter, you want to learn to sing classical, we've had some people do that too. How does that happen? So that is also a discounted course. If you did Tuesday night, you get a discount off of that course. And you can register for that as well. And what else? Billy, did I forget anything?
That's everything. Just make sure you use the code BELT30 when you're checking out. All of those links will be emailed to you shortly. But it looks like we're a little over time, but thank you so much to Cindy and Oliver and Dave and Rachel and Maria, and of course a huge thank you to Jeannie for putting this on today.
And thank you all for giving me your time. I want to say thank you to Billy for being our facilitator. And also I want to wish you all to continue to stay safe. I hope that you are well. I hope you are enjoying spring, but being careful. I am blessed and very, very grateful for the opportunity to share what I've learned in my life. And I hope that you will let me know. You can send us an email about what you got out of today or what you hated about today. And we hope that you will, continue to investigate this wonderful thing called singing. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.